Spark the brain, 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 spark the brain. We here. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. It's the third round RPB. I don't know if they ready for this one, man. You gotta switch it up on them a little bit. You know what I'm talking about? Have a seat at the master's table. We ain't asked for no seat. We went and built up our own. You see, it's rather stable. You got 2 eyes, 2 ears, you know the rest. Look, listen, and observe, but also respect. In God we trust. It's obvious. The money ain't the root of all evil, but lack thereof. That's why they deprive you of resources. Why they focus on streams of income, at least 3 sources. We certified, we solidified. And they say they created hip-hop, but all that shit is lies. Cause every element came before the development of what we call hip-hop now. It's all relevant to all the topics we gon' touch on. Spoiler alert, as we play this album, ain't no club songs. Boy, that hurt, but this ain't no conscious album. It's just that real shit, that Black God mantra album. I hope y'all feel this. Spark the brain, 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 spark the brain. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. Spark the brain, spark the brain, spark the brain. My mind is off the brain, spark the brain.
The masters, the masters, the masters, the masters.
Peace, God.
Hey, Dad. He's so good.
Hey, man, I got you a new book.
A new book?
Check it out. Check it out. Let me know how you like it. I'll be back. Man, this Bitcoin, this Ethereum ain't doing nothing for me right now, man. Gotta find some new investments.
Peace, God. What you doing?
Peace, God. It's good.
I think this book is kind of inappropriate.
Inappropriate? What's up with it?
It's inappropriate because look at these.
LGBT. Oh, man, I'm sorry about that, God.
I accept your apology.
Man, it's a shame, man. You can't even find no decent books for you nowadays without having to have these difficult conversations.
I have an idea. Maybe
that?
we should make a series of our own book.
A book series? That is a good idea.
7 volumes.
7, I get it. 7 volumes. What should we call it?
7 the Super Hey Rude.
7 the Perfect. 7 the Super Hey Rule.
And then maybe we could even make some bundles of it once we get to volume 3.
Oh, see, now you're thinking like a businessman. I like that idea, man. A foundational Black American children's series.
Perfect.
Visit www.godcastbooks.com and pre-order your book today.
Peace. This is the Black Dot, father, author, writer, poet, MC, one half of the dynamic duo, the #1 father and son podcast, Urban X TV. I am super excited about the new release, The Master's Table by Sincere Love the God and RP Beats. This album is going to be crazy. It's the follow-up to The Spear and The Shield. Already know what time it is. It's got some dope pieces on it. You're going to love it. Also on the album is yours truly, The Black Dot. So you want to go to the Masters RSVP and secure your copy now. They got a bundle package. You get a backdrop, you get a poster, you get the digital download, you get the physical copy, you get a hoodie. The whole process is really crazy. So RSVP to Masters RSVP, and you can get that dope album, My Sincere Love to God and RP Beats, The Master's Table. You will never be disappointed at how dope this project is going to be. Peace.
With vast intelligence, we mastered the elements. I'm unapologetic, they call me a black supremacist. Knowing that's a contradiction. Alright, we here. Peace, family, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of Sincere Love the Godcast. This is the Black Business Showcase. I am the God, Sincere Love, and I'm back once again with my lovely co-host, the Cali country girl, Nice D. We in the digital building. What's going on?
Yes, we back. We back. I'm coming to y'all from rainy California. It's been raining for 3 days.
It's been raining for 3 months. What the hell is going on in California?
I don't rain. Hey, and there was a tornado somewhere in LA
That's unusual, right?
today. Very unusual.
Mm.
Very unusual.
So I guess y'all ain't been getting no fires then.
No fires. It's not dry season. That will come, a little later down, June, July, August, September-ish.
Yeah, because I know normally y'all get hit with the fires, y'all get hit with the earthquakes.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're getting tornadoes and rain right now. Crazy.
Peace to the gods in the building. Welcome everybody, man. As y'all coming in here, make sure that y'all hit that like button, of course. Make sure that you share this out on your social media platforms. Let everybody know that we are live. If you're watching this from Facebook, make sure you come on over to YouTube, type in Sincere Love the God, click that subscribe button, and hit the notification bell so you can be reminded whenever we go live with new episodes of Sincere Love the Godcast. We do this, the Black Business Showcase, every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. And this is our weekly showcase where we bring on Black business owners and entrepreneurs to chop up some good game. And so tonight is going to be another one of those. Y'all ready?
Yep. This is I feel like this is a topic we haven't had almost, this is new. I like that.
Yes, indeed. And yeah, watch the weather. All right. So let me let y'all know who we got coming to the set tonight. And I forgot to ask my brother the proper pronunciation of his name. So I'm not sure if it's Mallah or if it's Mallah-Divine Mallah. But he's a community advisor. Hold on 1 second. He's a community advisor, board member with the Third City Project. He is a writer who authored 4 books: The Hidden Hand, Duality of Self, Prison Survival, Hell's Prism, Reentry Strategies Staying, and The Struggle is Real, Poetry from a Guerilla Thinker. He worked on the CloseRikers Campaign, was a national committee member for the Millions of Prisoners Human Rights March, and lobbied for the Kalief, Browder, and CleanSlateNY acts, and was a committee member for the 4th annual. And for some reason, my bio got cut off right there. I don't know what happened there.
So he was a committee member for the 14th Annual CUNY BMI Conference, Restorative Justice Education. We all are justice involved. He also is a reentry tactician specializing in working with incarcerated juvenile youth.
There we go. You see how that teamwork make the dream work?
Yes.
And so without further ado, I would like to introduce to you our guest for this evening. Is it Mallah or is it Mallah? How you say your name, brother?
It's Mallah. Mallah-Divine Mallah.
Mallah. Peace to the God. Welcome to the Godcast, brother.
How you feeling, G?
I'm great, man.
You, sister.
He's good.
Good, man. So yeah, once again, thank you for being here with us tonight. We about ready to get all up in your black business to see what that bio is hitting for, what all that stuff is about. And so what we like to do, man, in the beginning, we like to get the origin story from the guest. So if you don't mind, brother, take us back. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how this journey came about for you.
Okay, so as for me, right, in the space that I deal with, I'm formally incarcerated. Unfortunately, when I was younger, I made choices and things happened. I did almost 20 years in prison down in Virginia. So being from New York, you could imagine how that went, right? So while I was down there, you got to I was facing life in 28 years at 20 years old. And I blew trial, I lost. I wound up getting 55 years with parole. This is why I was out. And, I went up for parole 11 times before I actually made parole. But as you deal with your journey of transformation, right, you start seeing who you really are versus who you thought you were, and you know that who you want to be. So sometimes those three things conflict with each other, but when they start to harmonize, you recognize what your purpose is. So when I was released in 2014, you know, just by me posting, I was able to run across the Millions of Prison Human Rights March, where I was invited to the table, and so that started my journey as far as with advocacy. And then at the time, I had went back to school in 2015 at 40 years old, because I figured, like, you know, when you come home, people respect what you do based off of what they see that you do. So I know that, like, I didn't come home because I didn't think I was coming home, period, until
Ever.
no, I knew I was coming home because I had a mandatory date, but I didn't think that I was coming home until like 2020 to 2025.
Got it.
So that's why a lot of time I feel blessed, because I came home in 2019 versus coming home now. So I knew that I had to upgrade my skills. So like when I came home, when I left the street, it wasn't no web browser, it wasn't no Facebook, it wasn't no, like, technically the internet always was here since '68 because the military created the internet. But as far as like the usage of us, like HTML web pages and all that, that didn't come about to 93. Right. But as far as when did we start utilizing it, like, I never had a computer. It wasn't no laptops. It wasn't no smartphones when I got locked up in 95. We got flip phones that we buy bootleg chips for $100. We know the phone was going to at least be on for a month, but sometimes you get lucky and it's on 3-4 months. But you can only make calls. Nobody can call you because you don't got no number, because it's a bootleg jack. So you had your beeper or your pager and the so that's the era that I left the streets in. So coming back, right, that was what, the 20th century. So coming back in the 21st century, in a whole another decade, and you see how technology was integrated, and I didn't want to be illiterate. So I had went back to school for technology, and I wanted to get an associate and a bachelor's degree in technology, even though I don't work in the technology field, right? So that started as far as that. But while I was getting my associate's degree at the time, and I was doing a workshop for it's called CUNY. That's University of New York. That's the college system of New York. It's like I want to say 8 colleges or 16, 8 universities and 16 junior colleges. So BMCC was the Borough Manhattan Community College, was a junior college. So I went there, and I was part of BMI, which is the Black Male Initiative. That's something that was started by Charles Barron. He was a formerly Black Panther Party, but he was also a congressman later on in East New York, Brooklyn. And so, like, I used to get the New York Amsterdam when I was incarcerated, which is the oldest Black newspaper in the United States. So when I saw that, I was like, wow. So if I ever get a chance to get out at a feasible time, I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to be a part of the BMI, which I can say that I did both. I'm a BMI alumni, and I still work with them. So by doing a workshop on the 13th Amendment for the Millions of Prisoner Human Rights March, it was people from the CloseRikers Island campaign that was there to share their story. So I'm like, okay, if I'm organizing something on a national level, how can I not do something in my own city of New York? And the rest was history. So that's how I got into all of that.
Nice. And to be clear, was it 14 or 19 when you came home?
2014. I did 19 and a half years.
Okay. That's what it was. All right. So 2014 you came home. And man, that's a hell of a story, man. It says a lot about your mindset. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, and I've been in those situations too, you know what I mean, being incarcerated as a youth and spent most of my teens and 20s, either behind the wall, on parole or probation or whatever the case may be. And so I got firsthand experience and to know what it's like. And a lot of people, like I was saying, when they get behind the wall or when they put you in the cage, it's like you develop an animal mentality. You know what I'm saying? Rather than some of us who resist that, and regardless of the environment that we in, we still maintain our humanity. We still dream, and we still have aspirations, and we're still inspired to come home and make some changes and do some things. So salute to you, man.
Absolutely. And reaching back, he didn't only come out to change himself, he came out to change his community and work on his community. So shout out to you for that and working with the
Yeah.
youth, because it starts with the youth. If we can
Yeah,
get them early, a lot of things can change.
yeah, but I think that culturally, I'm a 5%er. So in the 5% tenets, it's a degree that says what is the duty of a civilized person. So when
Indeed.
you understand what your duty is, you got to teach civilization to those that are savage, right? So you got to teach, knowledge, wisdom, understanding, love, peace, and happiness. When you understand that, and this is what you sign up for, to me, it goes hand in hand with the overall lifestyle in general. So, you know what I mean? So I feel like I'm where I'm supposed to be at based off of what I understand and live.
And so when did you first get knowledge yourself?
That's a tricky question, right? You know what I mean? Because knowledge is self and being a member of the 5%ers is not the same thing to me.
Okay. Right.
So like before I left the street, I started like, getting more in tune, like going to a black bookstore, which happened, which I didn't know at the time or realize was actually a 5% bookstore. And I used to go there and buy books like Destruction of Black Civilization and stuff like that. And they always made me feel comfortable because I'm young, jumping out of Jeep, Jungle Brother hat, weed, smoking. Like, you know what I mean? The least cat that you think we're going to be falling up in a bookstore buying books, but they made me feel always comfortable. So I would always just buy books from there. So when I got incarcerated, my uncle was a 5%er, right? So I was always, and I'm from New York, so I've always been familiar with the 5%ers, but that wasn't my wave. I was on whatever I was on, right? So when I got incarcerated and when I went to the receiving center, it was a younger brother that I met that I was in the jail with, Norfolk City Jail. And I was like, yo, what Cass is doing on here? And he was like, yo, he had the Supreme Math and Supreme Alphabet. I said, oh, this is what my uncle was into. So curiosity of, because my uncle, he passed away like in I want to say 90, 91. Like, he had got shot with an Uzi in 89 and through the complications from that, he wound up passing away a few years later. So
A few years later.
so yeah. So how he carried himself, how he conducted himself, always smelling like the blue now oil, just how he moved, right? So I always respected and admired how he moved, right? Just like especially around us. And curiosity. And sometimes when you're curious, when you start seeing that a lot of the teachings of the 5%ers lined up with some of my own personal views. So that's when I started traveling, like at 20. So when I'm 48, so you can say that 28 years now, like just surely living it. And that was like the genesis with that.
Yes, indeed. And so me and my sister Nicey was
Nah,
talking the other
nah.
day,
That was
and
today. That was
no,
this
that
morning.
wasn't today.
That was this
That was this
morning.
morning.
That was this morning.
Man, all right. I don't know where I'm
Yeah.
at, space and time. But yeah, we was just having that conversation, and she was saying how she never really heard of the Nation of Gods and Earths until she met me. And
Right.
she
I'm
from
from
the West
LA.
Coast. She in LA. And so when you was incarcerated in Virginia, was it a lot of guard bodies down there?
Hell gods, yeah. It was when I hit the first major that I was on, if it was 12 people, 200 of them was 5%ers. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like not 200 of them wasn't all keeping it heavy or writing exact because later on, as time progressed, some cats turned to gang members, some
Mm-hmm.
cats turned to religious, Muslims or Christians, or some cats, they turned into homos, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I still saw some of these same people, but they wasn't who they were. Or maybe they never were. So let's put it like that.
Right.
Yeah, but Virginia, you got to think, New York travel like anything up and down the I-95. New York cats is there, right? So it's not a state in on the East Coast that you're not going to file a New Yorker. So 9 out of 10 times, it's going to be a 5% of community, right? So the science with that is that in Virginia, you have three black college campus, three black colleges. You have military. So Virginia is like a different state because actually I met people from all over United States in the Virginia penitentiary. Like if I was in the feds or something. So that's how diverse the Virginia prison population is, and 5% was well represented at one time. Like before I left, you can probably, maybe get a cipher with 15 cats. You know what I mean? So, because the language changed when they start changing, talking about SDG gangs, a lot of people can't stand under that pressure. Then, like I said earlier, some other people they went into different houses or different communities for whatever their reason, and their reasons don't really concern me, right? So, but when it came towards the end of my bid, it was like you had the most sincere core cadre of 5%ers, and I appreciated that more.
Indeed. And so talk about, it says you're advisory board member with the Third City Project. What's that
Yeah.
about?
So the Third City Project is a research think tank. They was in North Carolina, and then they moved to Duke. So because this is my I'm starting on my second year dealing with them. So they during COVID, they um they had the only information on how COVID was affecting an incarceration. So the name Third City is reflective of that. If everybody that's incarcerated would be counted, they would be the third largest city in the United States.
Wow.
So that's how that comes in. And it's like in a part of their mission, half of their board members have to be formally incarcerated. And I think that a lot of time in this space, the social justice space, you have people operating on you like you versus you sitting at the table like, hold up, what you talking about is not right. What you thinking is not right because they don't have no lived experience, right? So now we have multiple people from all different currents and educational level that have lived experience now. So it's no reason for you to say, "Hey, I'm going to operate on you, but I'm not going to have nobody with your mentality sitting at the table with me, watching what I'm doing." So so I commend Third City, and I think that is most peace, and this is like why um I'm glad that I sit on the board because I see the work that they're doing.
How
Nice.
are you received as someone that is formerly incarcerated? When you're sitting on these boards, how are you received? Or do you have to prove yourself, I guess first?
No, because that they designed it like that. See, they designed it like that. But then let's talk about where I'm at in New York. A lot of these companies in New York that deal with these type of issues in their when they're trying to hire inside their requirements, they say too, you know, you can have experience being formerly incarcerated. We openly hire formerly incarcerated people. So, and and that's probably one of the only job sectors that do that. You know what I mean? So it's still an uphill battle because, like, I also it's a bill that's trying to pass up here called Clean Slate New York, which if it passes, it will seal people records, so they won't have barriers when it comes to employment, housing, and education. So that would affect 2.3 million people in the state of New
You're
York.
talking about They're
because
talking about
those
removing
is
the
real.
box altogether, right? Sorry.
No, the
They
box
talking
is
about
gone, but people still. So it's like when you like say like if I wanted to be a nursing, right? You gotta have a nursing license, right? It's a box on that. Like some of these licenses, the box hasn't been removed. But if I want to go apply to like Chase or something like that, there's no box up there, right? So, but they still gonna do background checks. See, they still can, and it's the background checks that's going to disqualify you. So if people don't have access to your background check, which they shouldn't, right? Because what I did in 1994 shouldn't be relevant to where I'm at in 2023, unless
Agreed.
you're saying that what I did at 19, regardless of what it was, holds holds more value than what I have done from, let's say, 40 to 48.
Right.
So, but and then even in housing, like, people don't know that when you go fill out applications for apartments, the three major credit bureaus run your credit against other credit bureaus, because it's like I want to say something around like 500 different credit bureaus, but a few of those credit bureaus, they pull to see if you had criminal history, and they pull to see if you ever been evicted from housing, right? So I'm not going to deal with the eviction because I've never been evicted. But the fact that I have a criminal background, I've never gave these sites permission to share my information. So
it's a violation of privacy.
you can freeze those sites, in which I've done, right? So, but I'm like, I haven't currently started looking for apartments again, and which I will be doing soon. So I will see how effective was that. And it's like, but and you should think so. Imagine having the resources to pay your rent and pay the rent that people are asking, but they denying you based off something that happened when you was 19 years old,
Right.
Yeah, that's
right?
crazy. And I think it will fall under the public records section. On your credit bureaus, they do have a public records. So you have your creditors up here at the top of your credit bureau, and then there's a section on your credit bureau that has public records. So that's where the criminal history will fall under, evictions will fall under, and any other types of liens or judgments, court cases, and things like that will fall under the public records section. So that is accurate.
Yeah. So, and it's like, but these the barriers. So it's like, so I supposed to have a silent life sentence. Like,
Right.
when do I become redeemable? When do that doesn't play an issue? Like, see, most ATI, which is alternative incarceration programs, is 24 and under, right? That's
Hmm.
the age range. But do you know why they 24 and under?
Why is that?
Hmm.
Because somebody did some studies and said that the brain is not fully developed until you 25 to 30.
Right.
So if they know this, right, from a 10 or 15-year study, then why is somebody still being held accountable for what they did when, according to you and according to your science, according to your data, that they had an immature mind,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then statistics show that people that do a considerable amount of time has the lowest recidivism rate, and it gets even lower if you have college degrees and things like that. And if you have advanced college degree, it actually falls down to almost zero, and
So
they know this.
you mentioned the recidivism rate. So let's talk about the reentry program. I want to get into the CloseRikers campaign and all of that stuff too. But since you mentioned that, let's talk about the reentry program. Just give us the basis of how it came about, what it's looking like. Give us the whole rundown on that.
So I work for a nonprofit, and they had got a reentry contract from the mayor's office for us to work with the age range that I just said, 24 and under. But I go inside juvenile. I'm the region coordinator for juvenile facilities up here. So I go in there, meet the youth, I build with them, regardless of if they coming home or not. That doesn't matter. and those that are being filtered back home, we also have 12 partner organizations, and I manage. I'm like the liaison person or outreach partner for 3 of those um, um, companies that that are part of the Next Gen network, and we filter our youth through them. So it's like the partners are diverse in what their programming is. So depending on what this the youth is into, we try to match them as much as possible to a corresponding partner. So like I didn't create this reentry um, unit or team or even concept. It came through from where I'm working at, and I was able to get into it. But reentry is big itself because even before I came out here, once I made parole, they put me into a reentry building on the other side of the yard for like 6 months.
What? So you were still
So
in prison?
yeah, so like that was mandatory, and it didn't really mean nothing to me because I was coming back home to New York. So whatever they was talking about was based off of resources for Virginia, and it wasn't really effective because I'm like, yo, because how you gonna tell me how to re-enter society if you never re-enter society? You don't know the struggle, the trials and tribulations that somebody's going to go through. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like a few times in my job, in my professional journey, like I would go on interviews for jobs and make third round interviews consistently and don't get the job. Right. So how you gonna tell me about that when most of these most people, like when I was like, dealing with the reentry, coming home, like even when they talk, they expect you to just be the lowest rung worker on society. They
Mm-hmm.
don't see that, yo, I got goals, I got agendas, I got intelligence, I'm a thinker. I want more than what your limited expectation is of me, right? So I think that everybody that come home plays a part in chipping away at that limited expectation that society have for people that's returning citizens.
Right.
What are some of those the main obstacles and hurdles that people have to overcome when they going through that reentry process?
As far as when they come home, the
Yeah.
main hurdle is that, like, yo, like, I'm gonna say it, like, people don't believe in you, right? And I'm not talking about your mama. Your mama gonna love you to death, and your mama gonna believe in you. You tell her I'm gonna build a rocket ship with a milk crate, right? So your mama gonna believe in you, right? But in the general consensus is like, yo, you're not gonna make it happen, right? And if you're not talking what they feel like you should talk, like, oh, I'm just gonna be a construction worker. I'm gonna go get my OSHA card, and I'm gonna be this laborer and let you exploit me. So if you
Mm-hmm.
see past that type of thinking, then you'll start seeing barriers, like, you know what I mean? And because people don't expect to see you in other career options and lanes. Like now in the space, the nonprofit social justice space, like I said, they advocate and they actively hire people that's formerly incarcerated. So that's like the few bright spots. But when you start trying to move towards other industries, most people will um either try to hide or not speak on, their incarceration process, which I can't say that, they should or shouldn't, but I will say that, we have to let people see that, hey, regardless of what we've been through, we creating these skills for ourselves and our learning, and we can add on as well too. Just give us a chance. So these are the type of barriers, and like I said, I explained
No.
them in housing, and I explained them in employment when it comes to if you certain licenses they have, even barber, even getting a barber license out here, it has. Have you ever been incarcerated? Because they're gonna do background checks, so you can't say no when they're gonna do background checks, and once they run your fingerprints, all your information is going to pop up, and we know that they're not saying that you automatically disqualify, right, from getting any of these licenses, but we know that bias and prejudice is part of the human experience, especially if you have been a victim or one of your loved ones have been a victim, especially of a violent crime, right? So do we leave it in that type of person's hand to make a decision against somebody that they don't even know? It's too arbitrary. So we have to take that component out their hands, right? So these is the barriers. Like, they had a lobby day Monday, but I had to work, so I didn't go. So the last lobby day that I went to, it was a gentleman that I met through a program that I was in, but he dealt with something with finances, and he was like, "Yo, because of his formerly incarcerated status, he has to wait 10 years to take this test that he would need to be certified in what he was trying to do with the finance."
We go through all that expungement process and all of that shit.
I no, I just that's their waiting period. Like, I
That's
didn't
it.
go in,
Damn.
I didn't go into
15
detail
years.
with him, but when he said that, I'm like, wow, like, what I mean? I said, who say you gonna be alive in 10 years?
Right.
Right.
Like,
And you need
so
to eat now. You need an
exactly.
apartment. You
Yeah.
may have kids that you need to, start helping provide for, etc. So who has 10 years to wait on that? And what about the racial disparities? Do all demographics have the same issue when
So
they're re-entering as well?
I can't speak on that, you know what I mean? Because I don't have that's not my experience. I work mainly with people that look like me, the black and brown community. Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe if I was upstate New York or somewhere else, I could probably successfully answer that question. But I'm in New York City, and
Mm.
I only see people that look like me. That's either black or brown people. Like, so I can't speak to what you just asked.
Yeah. It wouldn't change if you was upstate either. That's just the demographics of those who are mass incarcerated. You know what I'm saying? But what services are offered by the reentry program for people when they coming home? You know what I'm saying?
So
What can people plug into?
from everything from employment to education, and then it separates more down to like we have one of our stronger partners is like audio pictures, so they deal with music engineering. A lot of cats, they want to be MCs. Well, I shouldn't say MC, they want to be rappers, right? So his program, it's more music focused. Other programs might be more dynamic with the services that they offer, but it's based off of what that organization can provide. Like, so what we did was, like, once our organization got the grant, which was a large grant, but part of the grant is you have to partner with grassroots organizations and give them sub grants out the major grant, and they do the work. So, like I said, each one of these organizations have diverse programming, so it depends on the organization. But it's certain things that all of them supposed to provide. If they don't provide, they can reach out to a partner organization, which comes with employment and education. And every organization have to provide mentoring services, right? So a lot of the clients we deal with are young, they real young, they under 18. So just certain things,
Mm.
they just not going to be interested. Like, I don't deal with a adult population, which would have different immediate needs than the younger population. So, but it's still based, but everything you can think of: mental health services, educational services, employment, job readiness services, to like individually what these organizations offer.
And so what about entrepreneurship? Like, now it's so many different outlets. You talked about, the way technology changed from the time when you got incarcerated to the time you came home. Now with these social media platforms and everything that's available to us, there's so many different ways where, you know what I'm saying, you could tap into your own story, especially, these individuals going through what they're going through. They got a great story, which is, it could be, a gold mine within itself. You know what I mean? Like yourself, you got the books and everything like that. You utilizing your story to create a platform for yourself to be able to, generate some revenue. So what about, putting them on that type of game?
So from an individualistic perspective, like yeah, but from a holistic perspective, right? Um I think technology at the current moment has outpaced people understanding of what could be done with it.
I agree.
So like, um these nonprofits that make, especially when I work for, been around 40 years. So you know, maybe some of the newer nonprofits that might pop up will have that entrepreneur component, but some of the older entrepreneurs, they're moving based off of a certain mentality, based off what
Get a
they
job.
know works, right?
Yeah.
So as other people develop and get into like certain roles and positions to where, hey, listen, this is what's going on now. This is the component we need to add. Or if it's not there, hey, I need to go create it. So you're going to start seeing more of that as time progresses, because I do think things is changing because technology is making things change, right? And it makes people have, like, the regular person have more access. Just like I was telling people, like I used to do music back in the day. Why I won't do music no more today? Because it was a sinkhole, right? You had to go to the studio, you had to pay all this money, right? You ain't had no laptop to throw up no beats and all that other type of sound. You ain't had no Spotify or no YouTube, no Pandora and all these stuff like that. So it was like, and that's probably the flip side of it, is probably why the quality of a lot of projects be subpar
Hmm.
too, because we have access to these tools to be independent, whether it's a writer, whether it's a songwriter, whether it's a musician, or even a podcaster, which podcasting is news. You provide a news that CNN ain't going to provide, right? So unless you become this giant figure, then because everything is on different levels. We understand that. So that's the positive aspect of that. But the negative aspect is that is you see what's going on. So as far as with reentry, as far as a whole, as a collective, like I do think you have some organizations are starting to change some of their programming and understanding of this, right? Because they having different type of people come up that understand, that say, hey, we need to which in the direction. But is it like man for man, every organization? I don't think that that's happening yet, but I'm not going to say that that's not going to happen tomorrow.
I need to get with
Yeah.
y'all, man. I got some experience on both ends. So, you know what I mean? I believe I could add on to that cipher right there.
If you in New York, reach out.
I'll be back and forth. You know, that's the hometown and all that. I'll be
Yeah,
back and forth, but I need to tap in with you, man. Even if it's just to just exchange some ideas. But we'll see. We'll see what's popping with that.
definitely.
Um, so the CloseRikers campaign. I remember they was talking about doing that.
I remember that too.
I haven't heard nothing lately. What's going on with the CloseRikers campaign?
So the Close Records campaign, like the wave is it fractioned after the mayor at the time was De Blasio. He came out in 2017 saying, "Yo, we're gonna close Rikers Island," because it was a commission called the Littman Commission that was already studying, which was led by a former judge, was called Judge Littman, and they was already studying Rikers Island to close it. So the
Study.
so the report came out just before the report was going to be made public. The mayor jumped in front of the report and said, "Hey, we're going to start closing Rikers Island on this timeline." He's no longer the mayor. We have a new mayor. So I don't really, as far as what's going on now, from what I see that Rikers is closing because I've been on Rikers recently, right? And how it looked, it's not even being maintained. And then it's a lot of buildings that shut down. When I was on Rikers Island, they probably had 20,000 detainees. They probably barely got under 5,000 right now.
Mm.
Oh wow.
So it's mass space that's not even utilized and stuff like that. So, but I think tomorrow we're having a rally in City Hall at 9. You know what I mean? And I'm not going. That's from a different organization, and because they having the city having a budgetary hearing, and they want to make sure those funds is there. But they already start building borough-based jails.
Yeah.
That's so they wouldn't be building those borough-based jails if Rikers Island wasn't closing. Now, is it going to close when they say it's going to close? We will see about that, right? But it's slated to close.
What's your thoughts about that?
I think that when you understand that Rikers is actually named after
Slave catcher.
no, he was actually a judge, but he was part of the kidnap club. See, in New York, when he out loud, when they so-called outlaw or ban slavery, and when United States in itself or whatever, British, whatever, they banned the international slavery aspect. People started breeding slaves, like, you know what I mean, and sending them further south. But in New York, which supposed to at the time didn't have slavery no more, what people would do was under the Fugitive Slave Act, they would kidnap. Free Solomon Winthrop story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody knows the Solomon Winthrop story. Well, I shouldn't say that. That's being kind of chauvinistic and arrogant. But his story. But they did a movie. What's the name? Did
12 years a slave.
Yeah, 12 Years a Slave. So that's what they was doing. They was kidnapping free black men and saying they was runaway slaves and fugitive slaves. And John Riker was he was the judge. So Rikers Island is named after him. So and then being on Rikers Island at 17 and at 2017, I was, in the Ford building, what they call it, the adolescent at war. And then, when I got extradited on this case, I was 20. So I went to Rikers Island because, for extradition purposes. But like the level of violence that I seen, the stuff that I saw, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm glad that it's closing. Rikers Island is iller than most prisons I've been on. And that's just a city jail.
Right.
So, and just the reputation itself, like when you know you going to Rikers Island, you got to carry it a certain way because it's still like, ain't nobody trying to wash no drawers, ain't nobody trying to wash dudes' pants and shit like that, and come off weak. And you can't have no stories like that going back to the hood, like, you know what I mean. So you got to step out. Like, I don't care what your personality is. You can have the most pleasant personality, but you might not can be the most pleasant person on Rikers Island. It's impossible. Yeah.
Right. Right. But I also think that the reason why they starting to do that now is due to a lot of the gentrification and being that the boroughs are being populated by a whole new demographic now. And so we know and understand that there's a big opioid epidemic in the country now, and a lot of people from the dominant society are the victims and the ones that are suffering from those opioid addictions and all of that stuff. And they don't want to have to send their own children to Rikers Island. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that's part of the reason why they're trying to expedite that and get rid of Rikers Island. And like you said, open up some of those borough jails and stuff now so they can have a little country club to go to, and they ain't gotta, like you said, the reputation of Rikers Island, you know what you got to go through when it's time to go there. And so I think it's really in preparation for that.
I'm not going to say it's not, you know what I mean, because you never know, right? But when you look at the Lippman report, like Rikers Island was actually built on top of a trash dump. So just the maintenance of Rikers Island is extremely expensive. Then the comptroller, and I heard them, they was at the Lippman commission when they was about to reveal, their findings. So the New York comptroller at the time, he said that it costs $30 million a year, 30 or 40, right? I want to say 30, but it could have been 40, to transport people from Rikers Island to the jails, to their court for their court cases. excuse me, to the court cases. So that's just transportation is $30 million versus if you was in borough-based jails, the jails usually would be across the street from the court, and you can have easier access to your lawyer and your loved ones. Like, you know what I mean? Because Rikers Island is an island between Bronx and Queens. You know what I mean? So if you catch a charge in Rikers Island, you going to the Bronx court because it fall under the Bronx County, but it's in the middle of nowhere. Like you got to take a you got to take a it's a bridge that connects Rikers Island to everything else. So it's isolated.
Yes, indeed.
I want to get into some of the books that you have written. The Hidden Hand, Duality of Self. What's that about?
So that's a urban political street thriller that I wrote. I actually started writing that when I was inside because I was also I was a teacher's aide my last five no not my last but like my last 4 years in prison. I was a teacher's aide maybe 4.5 years. So I like to write. So we convinced her to create a writing workshop for us, so we can teach other people how to write and better ourselves. So I was actually writing like short stories, sci-fi's, but then I had a brother that slept next to me. Him and the cats he dealt with, they used to be into those urban fictions hard, right? So I'm like, damn. But I think the quality, a lot of the urban fictions, as far as when it comes to storytelling, I think it was real poor. Like I think the character development was real poor. I think the overall stories was too simple, right? You know what I mean? It's like it just seemed like they was just churning stuff out just to get a quick dollar back then. So I said, let me start writing a urban political street thriller. Like, let me take the characters that I like, which is me, characters like me, and put them in a story and see how it unfold. And I had got that concept from Mario Puzo. Are y'all familiar with Mario Puzo, right?
Yes, sir.
That's he wrote the Godfather books.
Yeah.
But I read an article in New Yorker, and he was saying that everybody think the Godfather is about the mafia. He said it's not about the mafia. It's about a family that's in the mafia, right? He said, and I was just trying to humanize this demographic of people. So and that always stuck with me, like what he said. And I think Terry McMillan, like I had saw an interview with her, and she was talking about character development that she don't like create like story plots. She create detailed character profiles and then throw her characters together and let the story create out that. And I thought that was it. I thought that was so dope. So like, you know what I mean? And I tried to incorporate that as much as possible as well too. So the Hidden Hand is basically an urban political thriller. So you'll see the characters that you're familiar with, but you'll see some of the characters mentality change. So one of them, Bomani Friedman, he get locked up. He run across BLA members, which is still BLA members. For your audience that might not know, that's the Black Liberation Army. Excuse me. That's the Black Liberation Army. And you still have members that's still incarcerated. So I was like, what if he get locked up and get politically re-educated, but never changes his tactics, and then come back home? Because I set the book in Bushwick. That's where I grew up at. That's where, that's my home. So out here, you do have gentrification. You do have police brutality. You do have, drugs. So I said, what if this character, then he goes into creating an urban guerrilla team called Black Fist, and they use the Afro pick. Wow, we see my Afro pick. I always have my Afro pick with the fist on it, right? You know what I mean? So that's symbology, using that symbology to show the nexus between this generation and the generation of yeah. So that's what that book is about. That's the only novel I have at this time.
Awesome. That's dope. I'm definitely going to check that out because just the story of the concept itself, got me interested. how far in your bid, because I know from hearing some of the prison stories and stuff like that that you see on YouTube, when you get a certain amount of time, a lot of anger starts to happen. You don't think that you're gonna most likely come home, and maybe that's for lifers. You did have a date,
I
although it was a
did. I
long
did
time
have
away.
I had a date, but with me, it's like when you understand what you was doing, you understand there was a flip side to it. Like,
Hmm.
like if I ran over somebody in a car and went to prison, maybe I would have felt a certain way, but that wasn't the case. Like I knew some of my behavior and actions that I was going to prison. Maybe not for at the length of time I went to prison, but I knew I was going. So I didn't have that anger or bitterness as far as like
Okay.
damn, because I understood like this is the flip side of it. It's just like when when cats always say they gangsters, right? If you a gangster, the flip side of being a gangster is going to jail. You going to jail one day for the lifestyle that you chose, and you got to be all right with that. If you're not,
Right.
then that's why most people be rats. Most people that rats, they don't rationalize now they got to pay the piper for their behavior. But yo, you signed the contract. You say you on the street stuff, you gangster, whatever. You doing stuff that's illegal. You know that one day you got to pay the price for that. So
Right.
like, I never had no anger, like like no, because I knew what it was.
Right. So that's what I was going to. So basically, once you got that guilty verdict, you got your time. You went in there with the mindset of, I'm going to do my time the right way. I'm going to write, I'm going to, I don't know if you took classes in there.
No,
What was that about? Like, no, you didn't.
no. So when I got found guilty, I fought my case for 5 years. Like it did, like
Outside or in?
inside.
Okay.
So I didn't see like, yo, this is no. You can't give me that. I don't care what happened. So I fought for 5 years. So once I at 25, when I realized after, because I went all the way to the federal habeas corpus level, and once I realized I wasn't getting no relief, my mind shift like you got a bid now, and that's all it was. And as far as like, it's like this, like if you don't mess with me, I ain't gonna mess with you. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm not a predator, right? So it's like so a lot of issues in prison. Like I didn't gamble. I stopped gambling at a certain age because I didn't like because when you do certain things, when you're trying to transform the way that you move, certain things is triggered and like so I stopped gambling like early like around 22, no later than 23. I mean, I didn't get high, so I wasn't in debt to nobody, and I didn't mess with homosexuals, those, and I didn't play sports. So those are the main things, that activities behind the violence.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yep. That's facts. That is facts right there. Um, what part do you think, being a member of the 5% Nation and studying the lessons, what part do you think that played in you not becoming, what that environment tries to make you into?
I think that it made me more. I think I was already a thinker, right? Because I never was stupid or dumb, right? Because I actually caught my charges when I was going to Norfolk State University. So put it like this: one summer I was on Rikers Island, the next summer I was in Norfolk State University. The next after that, I was on a run. It's like so.
Crazy.
So I'm not a dumb person, but it's like I think it made you start understanding the degrees and breaking them down and doing your research, right? I look at the degrees as a filter. I look at the 120 as a filter. And I think that it made me more of a critical thinker. It made me more of, hey, don't take nothing on face value. Start comparing and contrasting information, right? Then I wind up creating what I call tools for myself, like the concept of introspection and retrospection. And I think that, when you introspect and start analyzing your own thoughts, your own values, your own feelings. Then you wrap it with retrospection, people, places, and things. You start questioning yourself. Yo, what made me want to be a stand-up individual, right? These cats would say a real nigga. We didn't use that when I was coming up. You know, we didn't use that terminology. We said, yo, son, thorough, get busy, all of that. That's the type of language that we use. So I had to ask myself what was in me that made me want to be this thorough or stand-up individual, right? To where I put myself in the situations that maybe I shouldn't have been in. So when you start like thinking like that, then filtering that through mathematics, like the most powerful thing is in the supreme mathematics is the knowledge degree. It's the know, look, listen, observe, and respect. It don't say nothing about like or dislike, right? So when you can learn to respect how things are, regardless of your personal feelings of it, I think that help you move in a certain manner. And I think that like being a 5%er, it started helping me craft a certain way of thinking and moving out in a more of a progressive manner. And then when you understand, when you tell somebody, yo, the black man is God, right? You know, and you see past this mystery understanding because you start seeing that this is not even a new concept because they got what know thyself on different structures in ancient Kemet, and ancient Kemetic proverb says that if you put yourself under intense study, you will discover God. Why would they even have a proverb to say that if they wasn't doing things that they saw themselves as being who they were in their fullest form? And I think that the difference is like right now we take information for granted because it's so proliferable. But back then, only certain classes of people, like it was like you had to be part of certain guilds, were actually educated or actually knew how to do the metal work or actually knew how to do the high levels of spirituality and stuff like that. That's why it was easy when they started attacking ancient Kemet and making them fold, and the priest class started scattering. Everybody didn't have all the degrees, so they went. Now yoga's a fractured system, massage is a fractured system, and then we start seeing like, hold up, all these systems supposed to be together. But once you attack, if I attack the people, that's the class of people, that's the custodians of the information, because everybody don't know this information, then I can set you back. And we can see how from the attacks on Africa during that time, then colonialization, when they took the best of our people and they killed so many people during the capture and throwing them and from the coast or inland, and as well as on the ships. Like, this is a fact that I didn't realize, that they threw so many African bodies in the ocean, in the Atlantic Ocean, that it changed the migration routes of sharks. Right? So you know how many bodies that you have to throw in the ocean of people died. So when they say, oh, only 4 million people came over here, but you have scholars, when you study the scholars, to say that Gory Island, which is in Senegal, 20 million of our people went through just that one island. And it was like 40 something slave forts up and down the West Coast. So when they try to tell me or you that we only brought 4 million people over here to America, right? You know that they lying, right? Because they not talking about the other 3 out of 1 person. 1 person might have made it, but 3 people died in transit. And they changed the shark's migration route. But it's like, going back to what you were saying, just like being a 5%, and make me start looking at things more critically and make me looking at from beneath the surface. So that's what that is.
Shout out to the 5%ers.
And just to keep it on that for just a minute, what about the negative stigma behind it when you're in prison? Because the 5% Nation is classified as a gang, and
Not no more. Not they won. In certain states, they've been winning. They've been winning those cases. Like before I left, I had a case in. So, and once I got released, my case became moot because I was no longer under the jurisdiction of the DOC. So other brothers were still fighting cases. Like, people was fighting cases. We didn't know who was fighting cases, but people was fighting cases. So cases was always being fought. But they won a few years back. So in Virginia, the Nation of Gods and Earth, they is recognized. But it took a fight, right? You know what I mean? So, and I think in a few other states, I don't know some other states, but some states they still seen as a gang, right? So, but that's strategically because it's like, why would people want you to know who you really are?
Right.
So that's how you get rid of those that got cowardly hearts. You know what I mean? I'm a put you at such a disadvantage for what you say that you live, that either you're gonna fall like I want you to fall in line, or you're gonna exist under this pressure and you gotta fight. And me, I prefer the pressure because you gotta know who's standing next to you. And and I seen a lot of people fold, unfortunately.
And that's very interesting because when I was in DFY, this is going back when I'm like 15, 16 years old, I remember I went through a search and they found my lessons and they confiscated my lessons and all of that. And then when I had to go through the hearing procedure and all of that, when I plead my case to the board and the counselors and all of that, they actually gave me my lessons back because my whole thing was like, yo, let's pull it out. You know what I'm saying? I brought up the 12 jewels and we had a 5% pledge. And I'm like, the 5% pledge, this is basically the mission statement for the nation of gods and earths. And then you got the 12 jewels, which are the tenements that we stand upon. I'm saying, so if you could find anything that's negative in here that will promote violence or gang activity or anything of that sort, then I can understand, whatever consequences I'm gonna receive for this. But if you can't, then I think y'all should give me my lessons back. And they ended up giving me my lessons back, but they told me that I had to keep it to myself. It wasn't allowed to come out of my room, and I couldn't share it with nobody and all that. It was just for me.
So, like, New York won their case before a lot of states won their case, right? And but they know because in Virginia, the individual that started the gang level, he told me in my face, Tim. So I don't have to speculate, right? That he the one that got it started on a guard in another compound. So because it was lucrative when the gang started hitting, you had low-level office COs move to these high-ranking officers under these newly formed gang units. So it was a beneficial if you not nothing, you can't rise. And like you gotta think, a lot of these COs, you know what I mean, in United States, they have poor education. Like the prison is the business for it generates their whole economy for their local area. So if you know that, hey, like I'm not the smartest person or whatever the case may be, but it's always a market to eat off of niggas.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's what they did. And so you had now this person, the lieutenant, this person, special investigator, all that type of stuff. But it's all based off of lies that they created for they can eat. And I can't knock them, right? Because how can I knock my adversary for playing a brilliant hand?
Right. Right. Yes, indeed, man. Yes, indeed. And so to get back to the business side of things, I got your website pulled up here. And so for the family, I forgot to put it in the banners, but for the family, let everybody know what the website is, where they could go visit your website and put your social media out there too.
So everything is my name, Mallah-Divine Mallah. I made it easier for people. The website is Mallah-Divine Mallah. My IG is Mallah-Divine. My Twitter is Mallah-Divine. My Facebook is Mallah-Divine.
Twitter.
yeah, I don't utilize it. Like, and I don't even know if I like Twitter, and I definitely don't know if I like it now under the new governorship of Twitter, right? So, but yes, everything is my name. So it's like you Google my name and everything that I do pop up. My YouTube is my name, so you'll just see. So
All right. So got the brief bio about our brother right here. And then you just got the tab right here. So you can get the books and everything here too, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
but those books is gonna. My books is actually sold on Amazon. So those pages highlight each book, but when you tap the buy button,
To take it to Amazon.
it's gonna
It's
send you
gonna
to
take you to
Amazon.
Amazon. Okay,
Yeah,
no doubt. No doubt. No doubt.
because like I said, like now individual creatives don't have to do everything they self like it wasn't no before I want to publish my book, I got to go through this cat, I got to go through that cat, you know what I mean. And like even with because Amazon got Kindle, it's Kindle publishing, but when I
Mm-hmm.
first started I was using Create Space, and Amazon bought Create Space.
Mm-hmm.
So like my first book, and they folded Create Space into the overall organization, because when I was trying to learn about publishing my book, I was trying to at first I was thinking about getting an agent, but when I seen the process, like and people talking about, we might not get back to you to 3 to 9 months, right? And it's like if you sending off a paper manuscript, right? You know how many like shipping and handling going to be cheap? You know what I
Right.
mean? So I said, nah, this ain't it. Then even if an agent did decide to work with me, they still have to get a publishing house. So that's meaning that your work before it come out, if it ever come out, have to be people that feel like your work is worthy.
Right.
How can somebody tell you what's
You want your
worthy,
word.
that your work is worthy, right? Just because they have the means to funnel cash behind you. So I was like, man, forget all that. I'm gonna learn how to publish myself. And like I said, not knowing what a browser was, or a concept of a browser, I had a learning curve there. But I
Mm-hmm.
learned, you know what I mean? But I learned. So,
See
and
what
they dealt with,
determination gets you.
yeah. So, and that's like, so if you're an independent person, like, like I'm in New York, so I don't be having storage like that to be keeping 200 books on me and stuff like that. So, like, when you order my books from Amazon, they send you my book.
Right.
Like,
Warehousing, ship, print to ship, and all that. I mean,
yeah.
print to order and all of that.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
now, if I was doing like if I knew I had an event coming up, then I would order my books to have on deck at the event. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
feasible and that's fair. But just like just to stack, because I did that before. But the first book, I bought like 200 copies, and I'm a new like I probably literally gave away 150 copies.
That's how that go.
So with the thought in mind that some of this should come back when someone I knew I was going to drop more material, right? But that's not always the case. Like I don't like I support a lot of people, a lot of independent people, but I never take the thinking, hey, you didn't support me, so I'm not going to support you. Because if I want to support you, I like what you got, I'm gonna support you. And I just figured
Mm-hmm.
like, yo, it ain't time yet for you to support me. But I'm not going to be like, you have to support me, because you don't have to support me, right? You know what I mean? If you support me, I'm honored and I appreciate it. But if you don't, maybe like what I'm saying, you're not tuned in yet. Maybe you still like listening to Kiss FM and I'm Hot 97. I don't know. And that's peace to me, right? You know what I mean? So I don't get like, I don't get offended
It ain't
when,
personal.
yeah,
It ain't
you know,
personal. And
it
we
just
we
ain't the
All good.
time yet.
we talk about that all the time on here with different entrepreneurs, business owners. No matter what field you in, no matter what product or service you offer, it's always like when you first getting started, people have to come to that realization that your friends and your family probably gonna be the last ones that copy your shit. You know what I'm saying? You got to get over that. You got to get over that, especially now when you have the ability to reach people like we've been talking about through social media and all that. You just got to find your tribe. You know what I'm
That's a
saying?
fact.
You just
But
got to
those,
find your tribe.
when you publish a book, because that's a discipline that a lot of people don't have, it open up doors, right? So I still have gotten value, not monetary value, but I still have gotten value as being a published author. So it's just different,
Mm-hmm.
it's just different. And people look at you different when they see that you can take something from an idea that's literally in your head and make it into something that's physical and tangible that people can hold in their hands, right? Because I ran across a lot of people, and they probably more intelligent than me, you know what I mean, and in a lot of different ways. But they was like, damn, I always wanted to write a book, but I like basically I didn't have the discipline
Tenacity.
to write it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so it's like, so amongst certain circles, it's like a nod and a hell of a wink. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? Yeah. So I still get value out of them, even though I never recoup no money yet from them.
That's all good, man. I understand exactly what you're saying, man. And definitely, I salute anybody that got that type of discipline and tenacity to start it and finish it, because I started 2 books that I haven't finished yet. And we have a children's book series coming out now, me, Nicey
Right.
Girl, and our moderator, Crown
Wow.
808. But it took us 3 of us coming together to form Voltron to really, you know what I'm saying, make this thing
Right.
happen and see it all the way to the end. And to now where we actually about to publish this thing. We about to order the prints now.
That's
And
dope.
so I understand exactly what it takes. And that's just a children's book. You know what I'm saying? This is
Right.
like a
Yeah,
20
but
something page children's
children,
book.
but you need an illustrator, you need color. You
Yeah.
just can't. Kids ain't
Mm-hmm.
going for that shit. I got a 4-year-old daughter, so I already know.
Yeah.
Like, I thought about a children's book, but I don't think the children's book that I want to write, they ain't gonna be ready for it. Like, cause like I saw something on social media the other day. It was like a 6th grader, and his father, they was talking to the General Assembly like, "Yo, my seed don't need to." He didn't say seed because they was white, right? He said, "Yo, my son don't need to be looking at no books
I know what you're
about
talking about. Yeah.
somebody in elementary school sucking somebody else's penis,
Right.
right?" So then the little boy read it. I'm like, that was in an elementary school library.
Yeah.
Like they using the F word and all. I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I got my mom washed out with soap before as a young person. I'm like, I know this ain't acceptable,
It's
right?
ridiculous.
So, but the fact that y'all have this in school libraries, like I would want to write children books countering that. And if I ever write a children book, it would be countering that narrative, right? Like, hey, it's okay to be a boy, it's okay to be a girl, right? Like, because I think that where we going now is we telling children. Remember when we
Children.
first had this
Yes.
conversation, and I told you they said that the brain is not developed
Mm-hmm.
between
Mm-hmm.
25 to 30, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's you trying to say it's all right that a child can tell you that, hey, I want to have gender reassignment surgery.
Right.
They don't even know what that is.
Exactly. Or gender hormone therapy. No, I'm not giving. Once you turn 18 and you say, hey, listen, this is what it is, cool. Like, if I don't agree with it, I might not
25.
agree with it. But hey, if you my child, this is how you feeling. Yo, you if that's a decision you want to make, this is what you make. But you can't come at me at 3, 4 years old or 5, 6 years old and tell me this is what it is, because I can't believe you. Like when I was coming up, it was if some of the dudes that I might have grew up with on our block, we like, oh, we like, that dude is sissy, because he wasn't
Moist. He was moist.
masculine as us, right? You know what I mean? Like, so them dudes wasn't sissies. Them dudes was getting all the females, right? As we got older and teenagers, like, oh, that dude ain't no sissy, right? But they just wasn't into what we was into. They wasn't into the
At that
rough
time.
housing. They wasn't into the mischief we would find ourselves into. But in this day and time, if those same individuals existed, they would have them individuals think that, hey, maybe you gay, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not saying,
Yeah.
thinking that, hey, you just got different masculine energy than these young wild yahoos. Like, you know what I mean? And
Right.
it's
Yeah.
okay and it's acceptable to be your type of man without no, you know what I mean? So those cats now today will be pushed to be like, oh, you really gay.
Right.
And that wasn't
Yeah.
even a
And
thought in their
18 is too
mind.
young.
So
I still say 18 is too young. My son is 18. He just turned 18 2 weeks ago. He's in his last year of high school. So 18 to me is still too young to make that type of decision. I'm going to say
it,
after 21. If
it
they
is,
decided to do
25.
something like that, even 25, I'm saying, because he's still trying to figure out who he is as a young man at this point. Where his career goals or entrepreneurial goals, he's still finding himself and learning who he is as a young black man. So, to even make that decision, to me at 18, nah,
but they
no
trying to
hormone
let them
therapy,
make
none of
this
that.
12, 10, 9, 8.
Right.
And you see how, they parade in Dwayne Wade
Dwayne Wade's
style.
son.
So I'm like, and everybody looking at the real mother like she's in the wrong.
Crazy.
Yo,
Right.
she's in the right because that's her seed. If anybody's in the wrong, it's Gabriel Union. That's not
Uh-huh.
your child.
Right.
You don't
Right.
have a child. You see what I'm saying? You have an adopted child that you adopted, or boy, or however you got that little kid, but you don't have a child. You don't know what it is to carry this. You know what I mean? I used to go to those prenatal joints with my child's mother. Like I'm like I saw what I saw. Like, you see what I'm saying? I
Mm-hmm.
saw how uncomfortable it was when she had the big belly, got to buy the special pillows to lay up against and all that type of stuff. So that's going to give you a bond with the child that a person that didn't go through that,
Yes.
I don't care if they call themselves a stepmother or not. If you never went through that experience, you can't tell a person that did how they should feel about their child, and you should fall back. It doesn't matter you dealing with the father or if you dealing with the mother. If the mother and father of that child is involved too, you just a partner to the child's of a parent, and you should stay in your place. And I, like, you know what I mean? And it's like I don't like the way that they promoting it, like, with the
Mm-hmm.
fashion joint they just had like a few weeks ago. And it's like, and I'm far from homophobic and stuff like that.
None
But
of us are, but
we talking about
right or wrong.
exactly, right? And it's like, and you can't tell me that we talking about one time, and this is what I thought one time, like, I used to be homophobic until I was around 30 years old because I come from a certain era where motherfuckers, they was doing crazy shit in our way. They was burning homosexuals up in the village and stuff like that. It was always so it was like they was anonymous. So when I got to prison, like, I still like, yo, don't be talking, like, you a chump, don't be fucking talking to me, right? At all. Until one helped me out of a situation with a charge that some CO gave me. And if I didn't get the charge off me, I probably was going to attack the CO because my family was coming from New York, and they was already in motion, and I couldn't reach him if I couldn't have a visit. And he gave me a charge on spite. So I was like, if I don't get this charge off of me when I go out for lunch, dinner time, I'm going to set it off on him. Like, you know what I mean? But my man was like, yo, this dude who happened to be a homosexual, he was strong with the lieutenant. He said, tell him. I said, I don't want to talk. He said, yo, go ahead and talk to the dude and whatever. So he went upstairs and advocated on my behalf, and I didn't get the charge, so I didn't have to set it on the CO, and you would have never met me, which y'all all meet me right now. So you see how it's kind of so. So once I said, okay, these is people. Maybe some of my views was biased, but I was a product of my time. You know what I mean? Then when I went to another compound, was an individual, and we watching the movies, and we was talking. So I was like, "Yo, like, how you get like that? Like, you know what I mean? Because I don't. I ask you a question, like you can answer it or don't." And he starts sharing his story with me about how basically when he was 8 or 9, some
Childhood
cat
trauma.
he was molested. Like where he said he liked it. I don't know how 8 and 9 you can like somebody putting something up in your butt, but hey, who's me? I don't do that. So what? But I know at 8 and 9,
Nah,
you
but they
still
say though, but they say though, child groomers or child molesters, um, usually it's somebody that's close to you, somebody that's close in the family, and that's the thing about it is they do know how to make you feel good. You still have sensations. You know what I'm saying? You're a human being. You experience certain stimulations or whatever, so they know how to talk to you and touch you the right way to where it does feel good. So that's the reason why most of it goes under the radar because you don't even feel as a child that something is wrong that's taking place because you like it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
yeah.
that's the mind fuck that comes into play with it.
Yeah,
So
Ayala Van Zant was telling the story because she's a victim as well, and she was being molested for a while by her uncle. And she even said at one point she cringed because it was painful. Obviously, at first she knew it was wrong, but he did it so much that it started to feel good. So at some point, and later on, she started to look forward to him coming in there because it started to feel good. So he was grooming her, like Sincere
yeah.
said.
So that individual I was talking to, he told me something about like because I was like because he was saying yo he took hormone pills, but he wouldn't get the the
Surgery.
the surgery. So I was like, if you would think you a girl, why wouldn't you get it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I need to know how you type of individuals think. I don't. So I'm learning, but I'm at a mature
Mm-hmm.
age now because I'm like 32 years old. So I'm comfortable in my manhood.
Hmm.
So we talk. He was saying some of his sisters. I said, who? Then he was like, people like me. I said, okay, you can't. I wasn't at where I'm at now. That okay, they use certain language. So when you tell me a sister, I'm thinking you talking about a female. So
Right.
like, talk to me like I'm stupid. So you know what I mean. And he was saying that all the ones that he knew that did that surgery wound up committing suicide.
Mm.
And I was
Mm.
like, wow. And I was
See,
like,
but these are the stories that we don't hear either. And those are the stories that a lot of people do need to hear because I think that it could be something that's in the hormone therapy that's triggering suicidal thoughts as well. We don't know.
yeah. So you got to think when they do that from a man perspective, they cutting out your prostate, they cutting out certain like things that make you and things that whatever the case may be. So when he told me that, I was like, damn. I said, well, I've never heard, to this day you still don't hear that. You still don't hear
Right.
that. And I'm like, well, I'm 48 now, and now that and at 32, it wasn't. I can tell society was changing, but it wasn't where it is now, right?
Hmm.
So it's like it's only
Mm-hmm.
one side of the narrative being shown that
So,
you can be anything. You don't got to be a man no more. There's no such thing as a man. There's no such thing
or
as
a
a
woman.
woman. You're just a gender. Genders is made up. Like, you
Right.
know what I mean? Like, so I'm
Right.
like,
What's
now,
what's up is down, what's down
yeah.
is up.
So I can respect the conversation if you say that, oh, some of the roles that we play maybe need to be looked at, right? What's so-called a traditional woman role and a traditional man role,
Mm-hmm.
and I can agree with that because most dudes I know they like to cook. They think they chefs. I think I'm a chef, so like you
Right.
know what I mean. So we don't got no problem with certain things, but I think that we need to just re-look at things because you got to realize like a lot of ideas that we carry over here in America is not our ideas. Like I'm talking to you in English. This is not my first language. I don't know my first language, but this is the language that I'm talking to you in. So it's a reason that I'm talking to you. It's a reason that I think to you in American terminology and a thought process, right? So something happened. So we don't look at like what happened that brought us to this point and what we lost, and a lot of the values basically was forced on us, and who we were, our traditions, our cultures, and our values were stripped from us. Like I saw, like I like reading my news article versus listening to the news. So I read an article and it says that Uganda just passed some of the most
Mm-hmm.
strongest anti-gay laws, and I remember before, like maybe years ago, Uganda was in the news before, and it was like America and Great Britain was like, "Yo, if y'all pass certain laws, we gonna pull our aid
Put
and all this
sanctions.
type of stuff like that." And I'm like, "Yo, why is you?" Evidently this is not these people way of life. And I read an article before, and they were saying how most of the people that was engaging in that, they was usually educated and went to school in America and went to school in Europe. So if you seeing something that's a foreign ideology to your system of living in the fabric of your people, who the hell is somebody from somewhere else to tell you what you should be doing that's acceptable? Like what's acceptable in America, it is
Right.
what it is, right? Because let's be
Right.
realistic. We wouldn't even be able to talk like we talking right now if we wasn't in America, right? There's other countries, we would be, but in a few hours, somebody would come put a bullet
Stoned.
in our head, right? So America have good qualities, but it also has drawbacks. And some of the, but they try to push what they do on other people. And I
The
think,
nerve.
yeah, because you can't do that, right? So us, like, what I see people try to do is like, well, gayism always existed. So for the sake of argument, because I see people doing research, they find in information. I'm not disputing that, right? I don't even want to dispute that, but I'm saying that it wasn't a readily acceptable lifestyle and formation like it is now over here. And it's cool that if you want to do it over here, but don't try to tell me that I should let you influence and educate my child that
Mm-hmm.
she's not a girl.
Right.
You know what I mean? My
Even if it
daughter,
has been here from the beginning, when we
yeah,
talk about biblically, didn't the Lord destroy? If we're
That's a
gonna go
fact
there,
too. But you could just
hmm
go to science. You could just go to
yeah,
science.
right,
Sex is a procreative act. And so
period.
obviously it's disaccording to nature because you can't procreate. So
yes. So, but the thing is that my thing is, it's not your job to try to socialize or teach anybody children. That's the
That's
parents' job.
indoctrination.
Like, you know
right.
what I mean? Like, it's not so it's and that's where I come down the line on it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't care if you were homosexual, right? I'm not going to treat you no better, and I'm not going to treat you no less. I'm going to treat you as the best human that you treat me as. If you treat
Agreed.
me as a great human, I'm gonna share that experience back with you. I don't care, because what you do on your own time behind closed doors, I'm not in your bedroom like you're not in my bedroom. So I
Right.
don't care. Right. And I
Right.
think that people trying to make you care about something that you shouldn't care about. You should just see a person. Yo, I see you as another human. And we talking about, yo, all this love. Like, I think these Christians, they use a word called agape, right? Agapic love, right? You know what I mean? That universal expression of love. So as humans, we should have that type of expression of love towards each other, of, like I said, in the knowledge degree, respect, right? I don't gotta like or dislike, right? But that goes both ways. You can't push what you want to push on me and then tell me I shouldn't have no pushback because I don't want you to push that on me. That's like somebody strangling you and getting mad when you try to fight them for strangling you.
That's rape.
Right.
That's
But
sexual
but the
harassment.
thing is too, the difference too is they're pushing and trying to indoctrinate children, and that's where my pushback comes at. My pushback comes with them trying to push this on children and force feed this on my child or, my tribe's, children. That should be left up to the parents at this point. And they're trying to indoctrinate children and reprogram them into thinking that it's okay to pick your gender versus being what you were born as.
And that's like I
Facts.
said, it's something else probably more sinister at play as far as like
Yeah,
and,
pedophilia,
and
pedophilia.
distractive and stuff like that. Like when I see they start pushing certain things, I always ask myself, why is you distracting me for? Like this is not even a real issue. So what are you trying to do that you don't want me to see? It's like an illusionist. They got you looking left while really their right hand is digging in your pocket, pickpocketing you. So, and I think that that's the same thing. And it's like, so now it'll have you at odds with people that's gay when you never been at odds with them. And you know what I mean? I'm just saying that, yo, you do what you do. I'm not in disagreement with what you do for yourself. That just don't work for me.
Right.
That don't
For
work
my
for my
child.
children. Like one time I was watching, um, I'm at my child's mother house, you know, and watching Netflix. It's some cartoon on there, and I'm looking at the cartoon, and I asked, I said, "You ever watch this cartoon right here?" She was like, "No what?" I said, "Listen," I said, "Yo, they got the rainbow flag everywhere. The teacher got a
Mhm.
rainbow clipboard. It was a cartoon. They got all these what
Symbols.
gay identified symbols in this children
Hmm.
cartoon. This is Netflix kids, right?" And I say, "Yo, I say and she's a guidance counselor by profession. So I was like, yo, like, you see this?" She was like, and she's like, "I never looked at that cartoon because it's like it's a real kids cartoon and show." And I was like,
Hmm.
wow, like this is like you really have to monitor what your kids intake, man.
Yes.
Like,
Indeed.
you know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like, and like the other day, like my daughter was watching something on YouTube, and one of the cartoon characters said, "Well, I don't understand because in my world we don't have no genders."
Mm.
I said, I stopped immediately what I was
Immediately.
doing. I
Mm.
said, "Yo, let me see yo, bring that over here." Right? So my daughter looked like she thought she was in trouble. I said, "No, no, no." I looked, I saw what it was. I'm not gonna mention it, right? You know what I mean? And I said, "You can't watch this." And it was something it was on one of the prominent players, right? I was like, "You can't watch this no more." She's like, "Why?" I said, "Don't worry, you just go watch something." Matter of fact,
Else.
let me
How,
um let me
how
put
old is
some
she?
science. She's 4.
Four.
She's 4.
Four.
Yeah,
Yeah.
4. So so you, and it's like you can't. And I'm working on my laptop. So while she's sitting right next to me, this and that, I'm trying to work and do mine, but my ear I can hear,
Hmm.
and I gotta like, damn, like I gotta like not do what I need to do to address a situation that I should never even have to address in the first place,
It's
right?
mandatory
So
now. It's
yeah,
mandatory now.
because I know that she's not going to catch it, but her mind will absorb it.
Right.
And I don't want her
Hmm.
mind to absorb and stuff like that. I want, who she is, her to like. I don't even teach my daughter 5% teachings. Like, you know what I mean? Like because I need her personality to develop first. I need her to be who she want to be, but she can make the choice. Like she like to go always grab my chain. I got my universal flag chain. I
Hmm.
was like, no, this is daddy chain. You may earn your own chain one day, but this daddy chain right here. Like, so because I don't believe in if I don't indoctrinate my own kid with what I stand on, right? Because I understand that she needs to develop first.
Hmm.
Why would I want you to indoctrinate my kid with something that I'm in totally disagreement with? And I
Facts.
think that
Facts.
like we should and we shouldn't shrink from saying that, like, yo, I don't want my seed learning that. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, and it shouldn't be an issue. Like, you shouldn't, oh, we need to cancel you, you anti this, anti that. I've never said
No,
I
first
was
of all, that's teaching sex. To me, that's teaching sex. So why do I need to be teaching my 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old about, or 10-year-old about sex? They need to be learning math, science, technology, how to read, their colors, one, two, threes, ABCs. That's where they should be, at right now. We're not. They shouldn't be talking gender anything.
Yeah, but like I said, this is where we at currently as a society, right? And I think that we just got to be vigilant, man, and we got to say, yo,
Absolutely.
and not be afraid. Like so many people are afraid to be like, yo, I'm not with what you pushing, right? I'm not saying I'm with those that this is what they are, like, you know what I mean? Because everybody know somebody gay. Everybody got gay people in their family, and I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure
And we love them.
you love them, you joke with them, you don't see them no different because these are your people. And I think that that's where the disconnect comes from, because they try to paint it like you some savage, or something like you're not sophisticated if you don't gravitate towards this ideology. And that's the pompous bullshit that I don't like.
Agreed.
I
I
don't
second
even know
that.
how we got here. Was this one of the books?
No,
How did we get here?
We here though. We here.
I don't even know.
Nah, but that was great, man. That was great, and you spent nothing but facts. You know what I mean? That whole concept, and that's something that we talk about a lot on the show. Anyway, that's part of the reason why we did our children's book series. You
Book
know what I'm
series.
saying? To counter some of that energy as well. And so, yeah, man, I agree with what you're saying 100%. You ain't saying nothing wrong. And yeah, we gotta continue to be vigilant on that front because we at war. You know what I'm saying? We at
Yeah.
war. That's just what it is. And so, man, um, we can start winding it down now. We've been on here for a good little minute. I think we
All
covered,
right.
most of what we needed to cover. And so again, man, appreciate you sliding through to the
Absolutely.
Godcast,
Great
brother. You
conversation.
know what I'm saying? You're a cast member now,
Yep.
and
And
so
shout out to Black Dads. I just have to say that. Shout out to him for being a good dad and being vigilant, being a listener, knowing what's going on, even when he's distracted with work. You know what I'm saying? Dad mode kicked in. Wait a minute, what I hear? Come on,
absolutely.
bring me that laptop. Let me look at that. So shout out to Black Dads.
Definitely, black dads matter. I think
Yes.
sometimes we the most underrated. Like, like
Oh yeah.
we,
Under celebrated.
yeah, but and it's not highlighted. Like, you know what I mean? Especially
Mm-hmm.
like the black dads that have excellent co-parent relationships with, what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, their former lovers and things like that. And I think that should be highlighted more, but it doesn't. Like, it's like only stories you hear about is, yo, you on $200,000 child support, some
Support.
crazy stuff like that. Like, to make it paint like, yo, black men is irresponsible, when statistics show that black men is that with children are some of the most responsible men there
Over
is.
85%. Over
So,
85%.
but I can always highlight, like, that's just like, you'll think every woman with a nice butt got a BBL. That's how they got. And I'm like, well, women had nice booties before BBLs. Like, what? Like,
Right.
I don't understand. Like, that's the understanding. This is how facts get distorted, and because nobody challenges the false reality. It's like falsehood running down with truth clothing on, and I think we do a
Mm.
disservice because we scared to share our understanding. Like, I don't have to be belligerent towards you and sharing my understanding. I don't have to be disrespectful, and nor do I have to agree with your point of view, and
Mm-hmm.
nor are you going to change me on my point of view. When I don't care how many articles you share with me, historical articles, scientific articles, like, what I mean.
I
Why
can
can't
see you've been going through it in the DMs.
you, you see what I'm saying? So it's like, yo, I'm just saying, like, I'm cool. It's like what the Quran say, you be your way and I'll be my way, and we can be
Mm-hmm.
at peace.
Peace.
And
That's
and
it.
that,
Indeed.
and
That's
I don't
it.
see nothing wrong with that. And and that's just how I move, and I respect life because I respect life.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed. Well, we're going to start. I'm going to ask you two more questions before we wind it completely up. And before you go on the Summer Jam screen, what does power and freedom mean to you?
Okay, so power, what I mean, power to me is the ability to define, develop, and defend your issues based off of your experiences. Like over here in America, Black Americans' experiences are different, just like Indigenous American experiences are different, just like immigrant Americans, whether they're legal or illegal, experiences are different because they willingly want to come over here, right? So, you know, both of my parents are Southerners. So technically, I'm a Southerner.
Mine too.
I just
Me
was
too.
born in Brooklyn, right? But I'm a Southerner, right? So I heard stories that maybe if you wasn't a Black American, heard like I heard the stories about somebody penis getting cut off and put in their mouth. I heard the stories about, you know, white Boy Scouts hitting an uncle that I never knew I had because he was dead before I was born, head and he's drowning. So it's just certain stories that I hear that give us a different understanding with what's going on in
America.
America, right? So, and it is what it is, right? So our experience is different. So our issues are different. And I think that we have to develop our issues, and I think we do. I think we do a good job at it. I don't think we do an excellent job at it because there's so many different currents of us, and it's always been different currents of us. Like people don't know that during slavery, you had some white dudes that loved their black kids, and they sent them to Ohio and states like that for they won't get they could take care of them. So this is why how you get a lot of the internal classism amongst black people in America that we don't talk about. So our issues are different. So that's how I see power. I see freedom, right? I see freedom as the having the ability, man, to live to your fullest potential.
Yes, indeed. All right, fam. So put you on the Summer Jam screen real quick. And right now you have the microphone. The entire black community is listening. What parting words would you want to leave us with all tonight?
I would say, man, understand introspection and retrospection, and if you can try to look at those things daily in your life. If you don't understand what introspection is, I would say it one more again. It's meaning to internally look at your own ideas, your values, and your thinking, and retrospecting, look at people, places, and things, and always see that, what could I do better? Is my understanding a little bit weak here? Where can I strengthen it? And by analyzing things from your past, people that you dealt with, places that you've been, because it'll show you a bigger picture for you can move forward the next day. So what I would say is understand the two concepts of introspection and retrospection and apply them daily. I'll be peace with that.
Nice.
Yes, indeed.
Like that.
Appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that, brother. All right, family. Y'all know how we do, man. Appreciate everybody tapping in for this episode of the Black Business Showcase on Sincere Love the Godcast. Again, if you haven't done so already, make sure you hit the like button. Be sure to share this
We
out on
appreciate.
social media. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you head on over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and click the notification bell so you can be reminded whenever we go live with new episodes. We do the Black Business Showcase usually every Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time. So tap in and let everybody know where they can find you at, brother, where they can get the books, all of that good stuff. One more again.
So you can find me at my website, Mallah-Divine Mallah. You can find me on IG, Mallah-Divine. You can find me on Facebook, Mallah-Divine. You can find me on Twitter, Mallah-Divine. You can find me on TikTok as Mallah, MA27AH. Um,
Okay.
Yeah. So just Google my name. You'll see everything will pop up. But so Mallah Divine Mallah.
There you go. Any upcoming events or any new
Not
material about to drop?
Not currently.
Okay, cool. Nicety, any announcements for the family?
See y'all this May 27th in Dallas at the FBA Expo, Dallas. May 27th, FBA Expo. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, cool. So, all right, man, that does it for today's episode of the Black Business Showcase. And always remember, family, we are not the master teachers. We are only the master students and signal boosters for the voices of the new Black media. With that being said, we are out of here. Peace and Black love.
And Black love.
With vast intelligence, we mastered the elements. I'm unapologetic. They call me a black supremacist. Knowing that's a contradiction.